What I'll do is, so I don't eat up too much time, we're going to bring up two patients that have chronic kidney disease and have been receiving dialysis for a while. And I think that what's beneficial about this for us is that Greg said it yesterday and Tony said it yesterday. This is what we do. This is what it's all about, right? Everything that we do on a day-to-day basis is about helping patients. You guys all interviewed. I was a sales manager for 5 years. Think about back when you first interviewed for the first time into the industry. And if the manager ever asked you, like, why do you want to get into pharmaceutical or biotech? Any guys remember the response to that question? How many people said, I want to help people, I want to make a difference? That shouldn't go away. A lot of people wanted to get into this business for that reason. That passion, that should never go away just because you've been doing the job for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, whatever it might be. So that's what we want to make sure that we instill with all of us, is that we're here to help people out. And I think that when you get to listen to Lamont and Lily's story, you guys will be even more engaged and more motivated than you already are. So I'm going to ask Lily and Lamont to come on up. All right. They did not get any of the Led Zeppelin music. Lily asked for the chair to my left because she said that was her best side. I went straight on. And Lamont's his best side is his right side. Oh, by the way, guys, this is live streaming. You got it right here, going all the way back to Boston. Right now they're saying, there's Rich being a clown again, right? Hi, Geraldine. I told you I'd say hi. Let's see. Who else should I say hi to, right?
Mom.
Mom's not at my office, but if she were there, hey, Mom, how are you? Good to see you. So anyways, why don't we do this? So I'd like to start off with introductions. And maybe just tell people your name and a little bit about yourself, and then I'll do the same with Lamont.
Sure. Hello, my name's Lily. I just turned 26 this past April. I definitely enjoy yoga, so I've become a certified yoga instructor. I love music. I love singing, poetry, painting, reading, and just the presence of family and friends.
Well, welcome, Lily. All right, cool. All right, and Lamont?
Hi, you guys. Thanks for having us. My name is Lamont. Basically, I'm a fitness trainer. I have 2 kids. I've just been married for 2 years. I'm enthusiast about fitness. I train. I like to ride bikes. I like to be outdoors. I like to hike. And I just feel honored to be here. Not many companies have ever reached out to me since I've been on dialysis to get me to come and speak. And so I look at pharmaceutical companies kind of like drug dealers. You guys sell drugs. But I think you guys are actually top quality to have patients to come out and hear our stories. So I just feel like it's an honor to be here and be able to just serve you guys and share our stories. So thank you.
So you see a fitness buff like myself. Well done, my friend. Yeah, so we got yoga, fitness instructor, myself. We're all
we're gonna work on
we're
you,
in great
man.
shape. We got the 400-pound guy that needs to go to the back of the plane. Sorry, Lily. You guys don't mind sharing the stage with me, do you?
Not at all.
All right. So how about this? Why don't we start off talking a little bit about, so we know a little bit about Lily and Lamont. We're going to kind of go through this. What we will do is we're going to open this up, and you guys can certainly ask your questions. And I think I say this all the time, but the value that we get from any of these interactions for you and for us is when you guys get involved. So I'm going to open it up to you guys soon enough. But think about some questions that you might want to ask, because I think it will be helpful for you. So Lily, maybe walk us through a little bit about, when you found out that you had chronic kidney disease and what that was like in the early stages for you.
Sure. I was actually diagnosed in 2011. I was 20. And what did my damage to my kidneys was high blood pressure. As petite and as healthy as I assumed I was, my blood pressure was 200 over 100. Like, it was a ridiculous amount. Doctors were surprised I didn't have a stroke or a heart attack any moment. And when I found out my diagnosis, my kidneys were so impaired that doctors recommended a transplant within 6 months or I would not survive. However, that actually opened up a completely new journey for me. I researched my disease. I actually have IgA nephropathy, Berger's disease, where it's protein just backs up the kidneys, gets them clogged. So it got me onto a path of nutrition, researching really real food, nutritious food, the nutrients you need every day. And just the balance and the importance of how your kidneys function and what they do for your body. And that really inspired me to change everything, my whole lifestyle. I became vegetarian to vegan to raw vegan. And I stopped using everything from plastic to processed foods. And instead of having a transplant within 6 months, I was able to prolong my function for 3 more years, changing my lifestyle. Thank you. Thank you. And that's
You've
what
been
really got me.
getting dialysis for 3 years, is that accurate?
And then I got on dialysis and have been on it for 3 years since. I was,
So you delayed dialysis for 3 years and then been on dialysis for 3 years.
yeah, I was like, I'm doing great. I don't need my parents anymore. Lived on my own. And then I realized, or I assumed a roof over my head was more important than the food I was eating. So the indulgement I was doing more and more did damage more and more, and just my function just dropped, and I had to be put on emergency dialysis. So that's how it happened. So fast.
So tell me a little bit about when you first were diagnosed, how's that conversation sound? Because it doesn't impact just you, right? I mean, it impacts you and all your extended family. So maybe just walk us through kind of the overall impact on you and your extended family and friends. And
the surprising thing I was even surprised myself was when they told me it was my kidneys. The first thing came to mind was like, where are my kidneys? Like, what do they even do? And thinking about it now, it shocks me that I know more about my heart and my lungs and my liver than I do my kidneys, and it has the most important jobs in the whole body. So when I found out that diagnosis and when my parents found out, they, of course, saw it was lost hope, but I saw it as an opportunity to change something, change the way we're treated or the way this industry treats patients or even the way our medication is given and given opportunities like this, like this, it doesn't happen for a reason, or it does happen for a reason, excuse me. And it puts into perspective that I really am not the only one like this. I couldn't believe there's 660,000 people living with kidney disease and they don't even know it.
So we're going to come back to ask more questions. So thank you. You're doing a great job. How do you feel? Good?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. All right, so Lamont, maybe we just kind of walk us through a little bit about kind of how you found out that you had chronic kidney disease and such.
My first encounter with my kidney disease is when I was about 12 years old. I woke up in the morning and my feet was just swelled up, like I call them elephant feet. And I couldn't walk, so I crawled into the room with my mom, and she seen my feet and she immediately took me to the hospital. And to make a long story short, they did some biopsies and things, and they thought I had an autoimmune. And then that's what the diagnosis was, autoimmune. And then later, throughout my, adolescent years, they put me on tetracycline, steroid, and I was probably about 13. And the side effects wasn't pleasant for me, myself, and my mom. Of course, my face began to swell up. I got round face, acne. I'm 13 years old, going to school, that doesn't look cool, right? So, and my attitude changed. And my mom really didn't like that because I was telling her stuff that I wasn't going to do. And so she wasn't happy about my attitude, and she just didn't want me to be on a tetracycline. So to make a long story short, I have a family who've always believed in God and had faith, and they prayed for me, and miraculously the situation just went dormant. It disappeared. No more protein in my urine. Everything was gone, and that was it. And then it seemed like it popped up back into my life again after the military in my young 20s. And so I began to see protein in my urine again, and then that's when the whole process kind of began. And I pretty much just lived a fairly, I didn't change too much of my life, just my eating had changed, low sodium and everything like that, and they kind of explained to me. But I was still youthful, I still feel strong. I'd been in the Army 3 years, didn't feel any physical change, didn't have a high blood pressure issue, and my doctor just told me in time that it would debilitate and my health would diminish. And ultimately, 2010, my hemoglobin was very, very low. And I was doing these checkups like annually, like once a year. Then it went to 6 months. Then it went to 3 months, and then monthly. And then I went in for a checkup once, and my doctor looked at me and says, "Are you okay?" And I go, "Yeah." He says, "Man, your hemoglobin is low." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He says, "It was like 9 or something." And I go, "Well, what does that mean?" He says, "You can pass out. You could, fall out and not wake up." And so that was kind of startling, but I didn't feel different. I felt normal. And so make a long story short, they went in. I got dialysis that day, and it was very, very painful that day to get dialysis in the hospital. I can just remember just being in the fetal position and the pain being very drastic, just like more cramping in my stomach. And then ever since then, I've been on dialysis. It's been 7 years now. And it's been a challenge. It's been a challenge, but for me, I just tried to continue to be optimistic and enjoy my life.
So Lamont, you were diagnosed in your early 20s, but you didn't require dialysis until you were roughly 40 years old?
Yeah.
So walk me through, almost like Lily did, so walk me through how you educated yourself. Lily talked about not even knowing what the kidneys are and what they do, and so what did you do to kind of help yourself educate yourself? Because obviously you were into health and fitness,
Right.
But as it relates to kidney disease, that's kind of a new thing, right?
Yeah, when I was first on dialysis, again, it was very new to me. So my education came, of course, Google, right? That's what we do. We Google everything, right? So I started Googling and reading and learning and just trying to figure out what it was going through. So Google was a good way to learn. Also, I talked to my my doctor a lot. Fortunately, I was very fortunate because my doctor, I used to train him for personal training, because I'm a personal trainer. So I trained my doctor for about 2 or 3 years before I went on dialysis. So we had a very intimate relationship. And he looked at me as a person. He didn't see me as a patient. And so I was able to kind of just drill him about all this. And then also the nursing staff in dialysis, I talked to them a lot. And also the technicians who actually deal with people, who've been dealing with people for years. I'm very proactive, so I'm drilling them, asking them all the questions I need to know. And then also just patients, people who've been on dialysis before, people who have transplants. And so I'm very proactive. I want to learn, I want to know. So I've asked many questions and did my own research. That's how I was able to get more of the information for my kidney disease.
Yeah, cool. So Lamont touched on an interesting part, like how important the renal care team is for them. And so Lily, from your perspective, what was that like the first time, right? You interacted with these people, you've never met them before. So tell me about what that initial month was like and with the renal care team members and what they did to help you understand what was going on, because I know that you did a lot of research on your own.
Yes, I did.
So walk me through kind of your relationship with the renal care team.
I'll be honest, I was a very stubborn patient, very... prior to starting dialysis, I remember the day I was supposed to start my first dialysis treatment, I was so scared and nervous and crying hysterically all day long, asking the nurses and doctors, like, what's it going to be like? What am I going to feel? And they have to tell you the worst of it. Oh, you're going to feel pain, and you're going to feel tired, and you're going to be nauseous and tired all the time. It's just like, I don't want this. And ironically, there was a patient right next to me going for dialysis treatments too, and she overheard I was starting my first treatment that night. And she asked the nurse, can I come in and give her some advice? Like, yeah, of course. And I don't know what I would have done since this day if I would have never met her, but she came in my room, beautiful smile on her face, introduced herself as Cindy, and really told me, you have to get to know your machine, whoever puts you on, get a brief history on them. How long have they been doing it? And when did they start? And the most important thing she told me that I was always afraid to do was to never be afraid to say no. And I'm so grateful till this day. We've been friends until she unfortunately passed away in her sleep, March 2015. And since that day that I met her, every person I meet, I'm just like, what's your name? How long have you been doing this? Okay, 2 years. Sorry, let me get somebody else. 18 years? All right, you're good. And it really, really taught me, like, I'm not just a helpless woman on a machine. I have control of it. I have control of my treatment. I have control of who puts me on. I'm not just vulnerable, but I do have the power to speak up. And I'm still learning that, and I'm really happy with how it's turning out.
Very good. Awesome. So, from both of you guys, you said, I'm a person, right? I'm not a patient, and you had that connection with the renal care team. So, what's your typical day like? Over the course of a week, you got a few days a week that you have to have dialysis, but you got lots of other interests and things that are important in your life. So, maybe walk me through. Both of you guys can take a shot at this, but walk us through kind of what your typical week is like, and what you guys do, and what's important to you.
My treatments are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So I start my day off with a treatment. Actually, it's funny. I always go in excited, happy, because I like just saying hi to other people, like saying, "Hello, how are you doing? How's your morning going? And how did you get?" I like to hear other people's story. Why are you here? And how did you end up with kidney failure? And that really inspires me to go in again so I can meet another person and find out their story. Instead of, dreading these treatments and like, oh, it's so early, I have to go in. But it's like, no, I get an opportunity to meet another person. I like to use it for good instead of people assuming like, oh, this is a bad thing. Like, no, it's a good thing.
And fairly active on the Tuesday, Thursday?
Oh gosh, fairly active. Yeah, we're always working out, hiking. We've got dogs. We're always taking the dogs out, and we play music, we write songs, poetry. It's like a normal day,
Right.
We just have some responsibilities in between
That's right.
to take care of.
Lamont, how about yourself?
My typical day is pretty busy. I'm a business owner, so I've been in business for 10 years. And so today is Tuesday, which is a non-dialysis day. I go Monday, Wednesday, and Friday like Lily also. But today I would have gotten up at about 5:20. I would have went in and trained someone at 6 a.m. I would have trained someone at 7 a.m. I took a break. I would have trained someone at 9 a.m. And then I would have trained someone at 11 and 12. And then I would have had a break after that, and I wouldn't go back to work until about 4. And then I would work from 4, 5, 6, and 7, and I would be done at 8. And that's a basic Tuesday for me. On my dialysis day, which would be Wednesday the next day, I would get up, pick up my daughter. I share custody with her mom. I would take her to school, and then drop her off at school, and then I would go do dialysis. And so dialysis, that would be about 8 o'clock. And, like Lily was saying, going there, being very optimistic, being positive, always smiling, saying hi to fellow patients. And basically, when I'm in the chair, I have a computer, I have a laptop, so I do most of my work. Got with this one hand going on, this one hand like this, and, so I'm accomplishing a lot in those 3.5 hours because, again, I have a business, and so I've been in business for 10 years, dialysis for 7. And so I have employees that's working, and I'm at the dialysis, and I'm calling people, I'm checking emails, and I'm just trying to do my best to continue to, have a high quality of life, but also provide finances for my family. I didn't want to see this as a situation that's going to cause me to be unemployed or get on, some type of, unemployment or anything like that, or Medicare. So I've always wanted to work. I have kids, so I've always been motivated. And so my typical day is just always, I haven't broke a stride since I've been on dialysis. My first year was probably the worst year. But basically, I just try to live a normal life. I do everything that you guys would do, just with some limitations. And my limitations, I am aware of those, and so I just work around it. I don't try to do things I can't do. I do things I can do, and I just enjoy life and just continue to live. So, yeah.
Cool. So I'll jump around a little bit here in conversations, but go back to when you first met with the renal care team and your nephrologist. Did you ever have the option to get PD versus in-center hemodialysis? And if so, what was that conversation like where you had to kind of decide between the two? I don't know. I think, Lily, you talked to me about that before, right?
Yes, it did. They actually tried to push PD on me the whole time. And I don't know, I just never wanted it. I never Please forgive me, I didn't want a tube sticking out of my tummy. But I did like the idea that I could go just a few times a week for a few hours rather than doing it every single day for 8 to 11 hours every night. And that just sounded so much better for me. And I mean, if I would have done PD on my own, I don't think I would be as open-minded and talkative as I am now for people. I would definitely be more closed off to myself, ashamed, you know, like I would definitely be on a different journey. And the hemo center, I don't know, it's like my, it's funny, it's my treatment center, but it's also an escape because I get to meet so many people with so many stories, and it's also being fun, being the youngest one at the center. You know, you get, everybody's like, are you a patient? Like, yeah. They're like, oh, I thought you were a visitor. Like, oh, I wish. So I guess.
How old were you when that Led Zeppelin "Whole Lotta Love" song came out? Were you?
I was just a little
Thought.
cell
Embryo.
in my father.
Very funny. How about, so you talked about kind of like your typical day, right? Especially your Tuesday, Thursdays, and even after dialysis. But talk to me a little bit about when you're in the dialysis center, Lamont. You know, you talk a lot about how Lily, you talk about how you get the energy from interacting with others. But when you're in the chair, and you talked about working, but what are the conversations like with the technician or the dietitians? What conversations are taking place, you know, with the care team while you're there?
In a chair, I definitely have more conversation with my technician, and I only will allow like a couple of people put me on a machine, like Lee was saying. I'm very proactive, and so no one can just put me on a machine just because I've had several experiences. And so the technician is the person who really you got to connect with, and I've had really great technicians who really care. They take care of my fistula. They clean it well. They really connect with me, and they're concerned about me. And so whenever I need anything, you know, they're there. They let me know. They're checking my blood pressure. And then my the nursing team also, talking to the nursing team. You know, they're always concerned how I'm doing, how am I feeling. And then my nephrologists who come in, Dr. Rezvani and Dr. Pham are very awesome. They seem to be very personal and care about what's going on. And so I'm talking to them about what's going on. But the most challenging part has been in the chair is not so much for me personally about myself. It's seeing other people around me who might not be in the best shape of their life, who might be not as happy or not as optimistic. And so at times being in the chair can be sad for me, not for myself, but for others. I'm very empathetic towards others, and I've seen people walk in there who have health, and I see them come back. Some of them have diabetes. They come back with no legs. Some people are in the chairs crying. Some people don't feel well. Some people don't want to be in the chair. Some people they're just tired. They just give up. They want to quit. They don't want to comply with the diet just because they've had enough. So that's kind of for me. That's challenging to watch just because of the mortality of it. And so that's at times I get very emotional about others, but myself I don't know. For me, I feel very just optimistic about myself and about my life, and I only have, you know, I have some good days and bad days, but most of my days are very awesome. Very little depression that I deal with, almost never. It only happens when I'm usually in a chair. I come out of there for some reasons. I might walk out, and I might just start crying, and I don't even know, I don't even know why. And then I kind of question myself and go, what's going on? And then as I question myself and find out what's going on, I realize the impact, of what's going on and being in an environment. And so the chair is an experience that for me, it just helps me to realize about how my life is in the balance. It's a very sensitive thing, but yet it keeps me wanting to live and wanting to take care of myself and wanting to have the zest and the quality of life and be able to even come and speak to you guys because of this journey. So yeah.
Cool. How about yourself? As far as in the chair, I know that you like the interaction with some of the other patients and knowing more about their story, but talk to me a little bit about the interactions that you have with the extended renal care team, the technicians, the dietitians, et cetera.
I'm pretty close with my team as well. They do take great care of you. Anything you need, they're there. And even if they have to rotate shifts and everything. And if there's somebody you don't like, they'll accommodate you. Like, oh, don't worry about it. We want to make you comfortable. And I think my favorite one is my dietitian. Yeah. Yes.
We got a few dietitians in the house.
Yeah, as hard as it is to abandon my vegan diet and be on a dialysis diet, which consists of white processed foods and animal protein and candy to quench your thirst, I'm able to follow that guideline as much as I dread it, and I do well every lab draw, and I always, it's funny because you can hear her delivering everybody's labs, and you can hear her like, oh, your phosphorus is too high, like take your pills, like telling these patients, and then she comes to me, oh, you're perfect, and then she just moves on. And I save almost every lab packet because it always comes with a big happy face and excellent written on it. And it's just like,
That's cool. You put it in the refrigerator?
I got a stack in a box.
That's awesome. So you kind of segued there, so why don't we go there? So as you guys know, we have a product for hyperphosphatemia for patients that are on dialysis. So we have a keen interest in mineral bone disease and such. So I guess, what was your education like around, and you talked about your dietitian, but Lamont, what was your education about mineral bone disease and specifically hyperphosphatemia or elevated phosphorus levels? What was that like for you?
I mean, they told me immediately that if my phosphorus get too high, of course, with the bone degeneration, but mainly it was for me, they were saying it can be a hardening of your organs. And basically, if your organs get hard, you're gonna die. I mean, and also symptoms of being itchy and possible calcium buildup that could even I've seen pictures that can come through your eyes, and so that illustration was enough for me to say, hey, I don't want this to happen to me. And so just to manage my eating was very important. And, I've been through a series of pills. I think the first pill they gave me was I think it was Renovite, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, you guys? Renovite? Rivella? Yeah, Rivella, that's what it was, Rivella. So they put me on Rivella, and I didn't really like Rivella. I felt bloated. I was constipated, which, again, I've been in shape most of my life because I've always been working out. And so I'm very in tune with my body. So when I was on Rivella, I was actually waking up at 11 o'clock at night because I couldn't really sleep because being bloated and being constipated. And I would actually go out for a run and would drink water just to pass through my body. So that wasn't pleasant. So I told them, I didn't want to do that. And then actually I got on calcium acetate, which seemed to work pretty well. But at times it would raise my I guess calcium would go up. And so they would have to do things to help me manage that. And then right now I'm currently on, I'm drawing a blank.
Fosrenol?
Yeah, I'm on Fosrenol. Yeah, Fosrenol. So it's these 3 big pills that I take, and they're chewables. And I like that better, and it seems to work very well with my body. And so I just, pop a couple of, I take a pill, break it in half, I eat, I chew it, and then as I continue to eat, I chew the rest of the pill. I take 3 a day, and my phosphorus is at a perfect place. And along with, like Lee was saying, just watching what I eat. And so, yeah.
How about yourself, Lily? Can you walk us through a little bit about how you educated yourself around mineral bone disease and hyperphosphatemia, and maybe a little bit about your experiences?
Of course, it's very scary. And you could feel it too. I used to feel so like, I've always been athletic, so when you start to feel your bones hurting and you know, you're sitting on the floor doing your makeup for just putting on makeup, and then standing up is the most difficult thing. You know, you feel in your knees. The itching, unbearable itching, it's like you can scratch all you want, but it'll never go away. And reading up on it, I read, you know, like if the phosphorus is constantly building up, it's as though your bone will become tissue and your tissues become bone. And like Lamont said, that can kill you. And it's very hard for me, you know, with my lifestyle or what I used to do, like sneaking spinach or sneaking nuts and beans comes with a consequence of that. Like, who knew healthy eating can come with a consequence for me? And I feel in order for me to even indulge just a little bit on better food, because I know I know my body needs those nutrients, I would increase my own dosage just so that I can have a little bit of healthy food. Right. But it's very scary too, because you do feel it and it's not pleasant and it's not, you know, something I wouldn't wish anybody to feel that way.
Is it wrong of me to think that you guys represent maybe not the norm? You guys seem to be fairly educated about your diet and very compliant. Is that accurate? And it seems like you guys probably had this as your baseline normal. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think it's accurate. I mean, my doctor would always just tell me, you know, that I was just, you're an anomaly, man. You're an anomaly, right? And I guess because when I came in, I was fit. I was 9% body fat. I was already working out. I was in shape. Most dialysis clients, when they reach dialysis, they're not in shape. They're not fit. They're overweight. Mm-hmm. They haven't been doing anything. They haven't been eating well. And so I think fitness kind of, for me, I have this phrase that says it fights against the ravages of disease. And so the more fit you are, the less likely it's going to be as harsh. It's still going to be challenging. So a lot of the other patients, they have just a more challenging time because they haven't really maybe ate well, or I never really drank. I don't smoke. I've never done any things in my life, and so just very little. And so most patients, yeah, they do come in, and it's a lot more challenging just because of previous lifestyle. And so, yeah, I think we are different. I don't see anybody that look like Lily in the place I'm at. You know what I mean? No one looks like her. I mean, you know, and there are a lot of older people also. And so, yeah. I mean, look at her. She's vibrant. Her eyes, I mean, she looks good. And people, I mean.
Now you know why I'm sitting in the middle.
People don't look that good in dialysis. I mean, even actually, my skin has changed a little bit, but you guys wouldn't notice. But it changes your skin. But most people look at me, and they tell me that my skin hasn't changed because you can get a lot darker and have like an ash type of look in your skin, which my quality of skin hadn't changed that much. But a lot of patients, they don't look as healthy, and I'm just fortunate, and I feel blessed that I've been able to maintain a good quality of life because, you know, I do see other people, and, you know, it's not pleasant at times being in that environment. So I think we are kind of an exception just because of the lifestyle we've lived prior to dialysis. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Lily, do you know much about the other patients' interactions around how hard it is for them to be compliant with their diets?
Oh, yeah.
So what do you hear from some of your
They tell me,
patients?
well, I actually ask them, like, do you follow your diet? Oh, no. Like, they're just like, no. I'm like, really? And, you know, when they see me vibrant and my skin is clear, you know, they ask me, what do you do? I'm like, you know, I watch what I eat. I follow the guidelines. And they always, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. It's like, well, you're supposed to do it. So it's just weird how, you know, I was lucky enough to be given a kidney disease that it allowed me to want to be more involved in nutrition to prevent others from doing this, you know. I want to inspire others to eat well. And so when people ask, I don't know how to do it, I offer them, let me cook you a meal, like, let me show you how it's done. And they're like, I've never had kale before, I've never had this before. It's like, you see, like, you have to experience and indulge in real food. And I don't know, it's just crazy how, you know, you're you're given an opportunity to do good with a bad situation, you know, and that's what I ask myself every day. Okay, what should I do today? What impact do I make today, or who am I supposed to talk to today? You know, I go in with that mentality. When I ask those questions, it just comes to me. You know, the right people come to me.
Very cool. So maybe the last question for me, and then I'll open it up to you guys. So hopefully you guys have some questions that you're thinking about. And I think we have some mic runners getting ready for us as well. You talked about kind of your lab sheets and talk about that. So walk me through what are those conversations like when you have your lab reviews, and how often does that take place, and what's important to you to hear back from the dietitian and others?
Monthly, lab reviews are monthly. I like to see that little happy face on my labs also, and they say, you know, you're doing well, you're keeping up the good work. Again, my dietitian was awesome too, and she's always giving me information, because I was always asking her, hey, what can I take? What can if I can take this supplement, if I can drink this, can I have this? And she'll always let me know, no, yes, maybe. And so just getting the information, I constantly was asking questions about, because again, it's kind of intuitive when you come in from a fitness background. You're used to eating certain things, you know, eating, you know, wheat and complex carbohydrates and all things that you should be feeding your body. And then they tell you, well, now you got to eat simple, you know, simple sugars. You got to eat white bread. And I go, I don't eat white bread. And so, you know, now you got to eat white bread, and I got to eat white rice and all that. I'm used to eating brown rice. And so it's like, it's kind of counterintuitive. So you really have to do your due diligence to change your way of thinking to eat that way in order to help yourself. And so my dietitian was always researching, giving me information, telling me where to look. And so that really helped me kind of change my eating and just really focus on eating more natural. I do more organic now. I feel like I'm at the apex of my eating as far as where I started. I don't eat out as much anymore. I very rarely eat out. I don't buy processed food. I don't eat lunch. I eat everything organic. And I think that's been the factor. It's a little bit more expensive, but my value of life is very important, so I eat at a higher quality. When I go out to restaurants, it's very rare that I even go out, and there's only certain places where I go because I check the menu, I see what's on there, and if I can, I'll eat. But pretty much I don't really eat out that much, and so, yeah.
Too much salt.
What's that?
It's too much salt.
Yeah, sodium is very high, yeah.
So anything to add to that, Lily, as far as discussions about lab values and what you're looking for and what the conversations are like? I know that you've talked about the stack that you have.
Yeah, I mean, they always check our labs once a month. So when that tube's coming, you make sure you take a lot of phosphorus binders before. The majority of the time.
Sounds like the way I took school test, you know, it's like slide over all the answer sheet.
Yeah, exactly. You just slide in a binder here and there. But a majority of the time, because it's only once a month, and you know, I'm always in a rush, always on the go. Sometimes I forget my pills, and you know, and that's one symptom is forgetfulness that I definitely suffer from. So as long as those labs are good, the rest of the time, rest of the month, I'm usually itchy or trying not to consume as much phosphorus until then. But you know, like Lamont said, organic all the way. You know, that's the best I can do for now. So you got to eat high quality, and it does get expensive, but you know, it's worth it now than later.
So great job, right? So these guys are giving great background. So.
Thank you.
So let's not make them uncomfortable. It's okay if you make me uncomfortable. Let's make sure we ask some questions. How cool is that, right? So who are the mic runners? We've got Jerry over there, Silver Fox. I can't see back there, but somebody looks. So we have two runners right here. So in the back, anybody questions for our wonderful people? Here we go.
Hi, that was great. What is your perspective on transplant, and are there either of you on the transplant list?
Ironically, you asked that question. I was called Saturday. At about 10:30 a.m. and they actually flew me out to Portland because I'm a veteran, so I'm getting a kidney up in Portland. And they kind of told me everything, and so basically they had someone that was on a machine, and they said it might work out, it might not. And when I got there, it didn't work out because I guess the person, they take them off the machine and they have to they have to pass away within an hour. And so when I got there, the person lived past an hour. And so I kind of had a turnaround trip, and so I came back Sunday morning. And so, I wasn't disappointed. I've actually had 2 calls this year. Out of 7 years, this is the first time I've ever had 2 calls in a year. And so I'm excited. I think it's going to happen this year, and I'm looking forward to it. And so, so I'm definitely I'm at the top of the list right now, and so I'm excited about getting a transplant. Yeah.
Very cool.
As for myself, I'm also on the transplant list. Ironically, Lamont and I are O-positive blood type, so our wait list here in California is about 10 to 12 years. I've been on dialysis for 3 years, so I've got about 9 more years to go on the waiting list. And I've had almost 3 opportunities for transplant, and they all fell through. So the first one was a woman who I've known since I was a little girl, and she did everything. It was a 6-month process. And right when we were about to get everything together, she ended up with high blood pressure, so that was out. And then I had a friend of mine whose aunt was on her deathbed and had no idea who I was, just heard about me and was like, I want to give my organ to her if I can. And she passed away. Turned out her organs weren't good, so that one fell out. And on Christmas, I was going to receive one from one of my best friends, but she's not from here, and for the holidays she goes to see her family, and this was going to be a holiday where she wasn't going to see her family, and everything was set. We had the opportunity to set the date, and so I told her, I was like, you know what, go see your family, enjoy your holiday, and when you come back, let's set a date. And I guess that away time for her got her thinking, like, I don't think I can do this, and she was honest with me and couldn't do it, and I'm glad she did, because I'd rather she tell me then rather than on the operating table. And and I'm not dreading it, I'm not angry, I'm not, why did you do this? I'm just going along with what is supposed to happen. So, yeah.
Other questions? Michelle?
So this is kind of a 2-part question, 2 different questions actually. The first is, I know Lily, you mentioned you actually enjoy going into the units, but Lamont, I'm kind of curious with your active lifestyle, if you actually ever consider doing nighttime cycling while you sleep.
Is it nighttime cycling?
Yeah, so it's basically like hemo, but it's while you sleep, you have a machine at home. So, and then the second part is, with you guys being so young, you kind of are like the 1%ers. But, for those of us, I have a lot of young people in my units, and they tend to be very non-compliant with some of their pills. What advice would you guys give, because you guys seem to be very compliant, for those of us who have patients? Because sometimes the younger ones tend to think they're invincible, and, they've got a long life to live still. So what advice would you guys give for those people who think that way?
Just to go back, they pretty much don't want to take their pills, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so because they feel like, it's not going to happen to them. They're young, they're strong.
Right.
They don't feel bad per se yet. They're not the patients like Lamont, like you explained, quite yet that you're seeing in the units. So they tend to not take their pills. They tend to not be quite as compliant. They eat poorly, and they don't necessarily listen to the dietitians as much as some of the other patients, because they feel like it's not going to happen to them, and they let their blood pressure run high. They tend to be a little bit more difficult, and sometimes the dietitians struggle with the young patients even more so.
Right. I'm telling you, we're stubborn. I don't know what to say. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so when you said you were stubborn, that immediately rang with me. And so I didn't know, what was the light bulb that went off that changed that?
Definitely the feeling I was experiencing along the line when I wasn't doing what I was supposed to, And I would just have them read research on their own, because you can tell somebody as many times as you want what to do, but it's really their decision, their choice. But if you give them the resources, like, why they need to do it, or what happens if they don't, and really drill that in their minds that there are side effects, and you may feel good now, but along the line, like, don't you want to feel better later? And even now, like, I'm up here standing on stage with you with 5% kidney function, and I don't feel anything. That doesn't mean that there's nothing wrong with me. They have to know, and they have to understand that this is a silent disease, and there are no symptoms, there are no signs, and as invisible as they think they are, they're really not, and you gotta just not sugarcoat it, really. You just gotta be real.
Yeah, I like what Liz said. Don't sugarcoat it. My doctor's was just straightforward, and we get a lot of pictures, illustrations. They put stuff on the board, and when you walk in there and you start seeing those pictures, you just, for me, that illustration, it paints a picture for me to say, hey, this is very serious, and I think that helped me out a lot, but also just being straightforward, and then also maybe just encouraging them to understand it's a value thing. It's a value of your life, and you got to see the value of your life. How important is your life? How important, I have support around me also. So sometimes people don't have support, so they don't think their life is worth anything. And some people do rebel because they feel life has treated them wrong, or they get kind of self-pity. And so they don't care. They'll just do whatever. But if they have some type of support group and people around them who care and support them, I think they'll feel like their life is a little bit more important and valuable. And so maybe them being part of some type of groups, and being able to talk about it, that may help them also. And then as far as your other question, I didn't want to do it at home, just because I feel like I'm in the care of professionals, and the doctors are there, the nurses are there. If something happens, they're right there. And at home, I don't want anybody I'm gonna have to call somebody, 911, and how long that may take. So I'm very conscious of that, about that environment. And again, I didn't want anything sticking out of my stomach either, because I still exercise and I wanted to be able to still move. And I didn't like when I had a catheter in my neck. That was very difficult and frustrating for me to know that I had something hanging out of my body that was foreign. And I just didn't want, I don't want anything in my body for a permanent time. To have the fistula in my arm, for me still is a challenge, knowing that I have this thing going on in my arm and I can feel it and things like that. So being in the facility, even though it can be a little challenging, I know that I can get immediate help. When I've seen them call and they're like Johnny on the spot. And I've seen people being there and watch their blood pressures drop like that, and people are passing out, and my blood pressures dropped in the first stages a couple of times. And so that's not fun, and it happened once at home when I was, and my daughter was there. It was just me and my daughter, and she was only like, at the time, she was like 14, and it was just me and her at home, and my blood pressure started to drop, and again, I'm in tune, so I could feel my body. I can feel what was starting to take place. And so, you know, my kid always looked at me as, you know, Dad is fit, he's Superman, he's Batman, right? And so I'm feeling kind of woozy, my head light, I can feel the symptoms. And so I kind of have her go in a room, and I feel like I'm getting ready to leave, like I'm getting ready to pass out. And so, of course, I started, you know, drinking some Gatorade, trying to get some sodium from some soup or something. And ultimately, I had to call 911. And by the time they got there, everything was fine, you know. And so they checked out my vitals, did everything. And so I just, for me, I just don't want to be at home if just in case something happens. I'd rather be there and I can get the necessary help while I'm there. So.
Thanks. Other questions? We got lots of them. That's awesome. Hey, Jen.
Hey. So I've been reading a lot lately about cognitive decline in dialysis patients. And Lily, you mentioned that you were forgetting your binders. And so I'm a renal dietitian, and I would get frustrated with patients because I would tell them the same thing over and over. But I've read like that even, especially on the machine, that you decline mentally, and then once you go home. So I'm curious if y'all have noticed that on the machine, if you feel like you're just kind of foggy, and then also if you've noticed memory issues, like when you're at home after dialysis, for the years that you've been on the machine.
Yeah. It's very bad, actually. I'll come home and I won't remember what I did or where I put my keys, or like just little things like that, or making plans that day. And it is usually after dialysis that I notice that, where I get foggy-brained and very forgetful, and my boyfriend gets frustrated sometimes. So it's, I definitely would want to be more understanding for a patient, I guess you could say, but because what bothers you is the forgetfulness of their pills because their labs are running high.
We educate patients in the clinic, and if you're on the machine and you've got a foggy brain, because we're standing there educating you,
it's not
a lot of people say it's better to wait till after now.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But
Because
then,
it's just so much is happening in the machine. I mean, for me personally, they can tell me things all they want, but I'm like, I'm thinking about my numbers and my blood pressure and how much time I have left, you know, so that's definitely, I would definitely wait until non-dialysis day to talk to them about any kind of clinical information, just so that it's able to simmer and they're not thinking about something else.
yeah.
Is that true for you as well?
Maybe that'll help.
Yeah. I don't really think I have a like memory. I don't really forget, but I kind of plan with my binders. So I have pills in the car, and then I have pills in my backpack, and then I have pills in the kitchen. And so that's how I don't forget. So wherever I have opportunity to have a pill. So if I forget, there's one in the car. If I forget, there's one in my backpack. If I forget, there's one at home. So I don't ever really miss, or unless something random happens where I miss, but it doesn't happen often at all. So yeah, I just think it's a planning thing to help you be able to take them. I mean, I put them in plastic, Ziplocs, I put them in my pocket, so I know I have to take those, so yeah.
Yeah.
Over here, in the corner. In the back. So Lamont, I actually call on Dr. Rizvani and Dr. Pham, and you do have a great care team. You have a great care team.
Dr. Pham, you say?
Huh?
Will you say Dr. Pham?
I call on Dr. Rizvani, Dr. Pham, and Dr. Mohan. Yeah, you have a great care team, care team. But I was wondering, just listening to you two up there, one of the things we always hear about is how poorly patients feel, especially after dialysis, and neither of you seem to have that. And you seem to be attributing a lot of that to diet and exercise and following certain things and living a certain lifestyle. Have the two of you ever thought about getting together and like writing something from a patient perspective There's a lot of information from the National Kidney Foundation out there. There's DaVita, Fresenius. They all put out information. But coming from people like yourselves, where you make a life out of fitness and eating a certain way, and Lily, I think you kind of do the same thing. You two should really get together and put something out from a patient perspective. I think that would be great for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually,
I would like that.
I thought about that after I talked to Lily.
breakfast.
And yes, it is a desire for me to do that. I'm actually in the process right now of creating a program for online type of a teaching, more or less for wellness, just basic wellness. So yeah, I do want to do this more. I have been able to go out and speak to other people. So yeah, I don't feel tired as much or hardly at all coming off the machine, just because, again, my capacity to work out. You know, I'm in great shape. Let me do a little demo for you guys, all right? So I really practice what I preach, and you know, I spoke to some kids at the high school in Laverne. It's called Bonita, and so for me and even Lily, I know just really sharing our story and inspiring people, it really takes the focus off of what I'm going through, and I don't fixate on what I'm going through. I try to give, and that's where I get my energy and desire. But because I work out, and I used to do CrossFit. If anybody familiar with CrossFit? I used to do a lot of CrossFit before I even got on a machine. And because of the intensity of the workout, I think it really got my heart in really good condition, because the machine is kind of like a workout. And that's why people get tired, because that machine is, you know, sucking your blood and it's circulating, and your heart rate can go up, and the blood pressure. I think because I've been in shape, that it almost feels like I'm just doing a workout. And so when I come off, I'm not hardly tired. At times I am. There are situations where I am tired, but the majority of the time I have energy. And so I'm just thankful, you know, to be able to have energy and to take care of myself to do that. So yeah.
I'll be doing push-ups later if you guys want to. Tony was just pointing at me like, you go do it now. Go do it. Lots of pressure. Here we go. Thanks. Good job.
Yeah. I just want to say that both of your resilience is remarkable, and I commend you both for facing this disease head-on and educating yourselves. However, like Michelle said, you are the 1%. You do have an extensive background about your disease, and with that, we face dietitians every day that say that compliance is an issue. Lamont, my first question is for you. You said that you didn't like the way you felt with the one binder. So I want to know if you were proactive about that and talking to the dietitian about switching you if there was another option, and kind of how that conversation went. And then Lily, for you, I was interested in what binder you are on. And I know you are compliant, but you said that you also sometimes will just take a few at the end and you forget sometimes, but is it just because you forget, or do you not feel that well sometimes? And
No, it's my forgetfulness.
Okay.
I do take calcium acetate right now, 660 milligrams a pill, and I take 3 with each meal.
Okay. And is it anything like Lamont was saying with your calcium, being
No, my calcium
increased?
is good. Yeah,
Okay.
it's perfect.
And Lamont, for you, how did the conversation go when you said you weren't feeling well being on Renvela, and how you switched?
It was pretty simple, just, you know, talking to my dietitian about it and letting them know how I was feeling. At first, it was, I think I had initially took some fiber with it, but then I was like, I don't want to be taking something else to help combat what I'm taking. And so I talked to my dietitian, and she just allowed me to try other things. And actually the calcium acetate was balancing, working good, but actually my dietitian asked me, because we always used to talk. And for me, just having a relationship, I go in her office when I leave dialysis. I go in there, she's sitting in there. I go in there and chit chat with her. So I think the more and more you create this relationship with your dietitian, they actually kind of mimic that, and they're willing to help you more. I think if you put yourself out there more, not that they're not going to help you if you don't say anything, but I think the more you have a better relationship, the more they're going to be communicating. And she would just be seeing me sometimes, hey, I got something new for you. Hey, I heard about this. And so the calcium acetate was working, but she had another one, which was that chewable that I'm taking now. And I guess the downfall for that was that my insurance, it's expensive. And so originally I couldn't take it because of the cost was high. But since I'm a veteran, I get it from the VA, and it doesn't cost me that much. And so, yeah.
Other questions? I think we've got a microphone over here.
Hi. Hi. Sorry, everybody. I just have a question. You guys talked about your care teams and everything. Can you just kind of walk us through as well what role the social worker played for you when you first started treatment, and anything continuous that they've done as the years have passed and progressed? I know you mentioned the VA and costs and everything like that. So kind of walk us through what role the social worker had.
Oh my gosh, the social worker does everything. They do all the paperwork. I was on Medicare. They help me pay my bills. They give me advice, and they provided a financial advisor. I was in the process of switching centers, and she did everything. It's like my personal assistant. Like, call this person for me and set this up for me, and they'll just do it for you. They're a huge part of my life. I can't believe I didn't mention them earlier. But we do need them. We need a social worker. We need a dietitian. We need financial advisors, because we can't do this by ourselves. We can barely do a treatment on our own, let alone all the other complicated stuff that comes with it, as far as paperwork and contracts and scheduling, and they're a very important role in my life, definitely.
Yeah.
I keep hitting the mic, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the social worker, very important. I mean, they're there asking you questions, and of course, we're filling out the surveys and stuff as they kind of see how you're feeling. They ask you, how difficult this is, how much of an impact it's been on your life, and so they're constantly trying to evaluate our mental state and mental capacity. And for me personally, I'm a psychology major, so I went to college for psychology. So I'm always about, self-evaluation, and I know that's important to kind of make sure I'm in the right mental state, but they're always coming through reminding us of things, and if we need help in any aspect of our program, just to be there and let them know. And so they're always available. Yeah.
Other questions?
I was just curious what your daily pill count or pill regimen is. I mean, we all think about binders, but I know you have other medications. So I'm curious what that's like on a daily basis. And then also, especially because you both work out, how you manage the fluids. And, if you go for, I don't know, a long run or something, and then you're really thirsty, I know you sweated, but, so can you explain that? And I actually have a third question. When you said you go to the VA, can you share a little bit? I've hit a lot of roadblocks with my VA patients and trying to, I guess, when the dietitian wants them to get Auryxia, and then, the VA is very complicated. So maybe you can share if you've had any trouble or tricks of the trade with the VA. I don't know. Anyways.
I haven't had any trouble with the VA as far as my medication. It's been great. VA has actually, for me, it's been better than, I was with USC before, and I was with UCLA. And now I'm with UCLA and the VA. But the VA, for me, my experience, they've been very proactive about what my needs are. And so the medication, I mean, they send it to me automatically. I take minoxidil, and I take also Sensipar, and then I just take the Frozenol, and those are the three. And then that Frozenol are the three chewables usually that I take throughout the day. And then the minoxidil is like a very small dosage of minoxidil. And minoxidil is one of those interesting blood pressure that it can cause hair growth. So I got this beard, you know, from taking the minoxidil. But no, I haven't had the VA. Honestly, it's been amazing for me, just because the way they've treated me. And again, I've gotten opportunity to get a transplant through the VA twice this year, and USC none, and UCLA none. So I don't know. I don't know if could be different regions. I don't know what state you're in, but I'm over in California and Loma Linda area where the VA is, and so they've been awesome for me. So.
Yeah. I just take my calcium acetate phosphorus binders and just a regular blood pressure medication, atenolol. I think I just take literally 12 pills of the acetate a day, because as small as I am, I eat a lot. And as far as the liquid portion goes, surprisingly, I don't retain a lot of water as most patients do. I always go in with 1 kilo, or I'm never swollen, and I don't consume too much either, because I know, it's funny because they give you this paper, it's like 4 little glasses a day, and it's like, okay. But I have like a small water bottle I'll have in my purse with me that I'll sip on. It's mainly to quench my thirst, but if I am working out, of course, I'll drink a full cup of water to hydrate. But for the most part, I'm very fortunate. I don't retain a lot of water, and even more fortunate, I'm still urinating. So I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, I still use the bathroom also.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, just working out, I think it helps, with circulation and not allowing that fluid to build up. And so, I drink water pretty regularly. I don't just slam it, but I really drink it as according to, like Lily was saying, to quench your thirst. And I haven't had any issues. I usually stay within the area where my kilos are. I don't go over. I rarely go over. If I may go over, it's very rare, and it's maybe a weekend, but nothing really major. So I don't get any swelling in my ankles. I think the first year I did have a little bit of swelling in my ankles a little bit, but after the first year, I think my body kind of adjusted, and now I don't have any swelling, and so, yeah.
Cool. Probably have time for one more question. We'll go 2 more questions. How's that? We'll go 2 more. There you go.
Lamont, I know you have a intimate relationship with your nephrologist, and you're pretty lucky to have that, I guess, because you trained with him. But I guess, Lily, what is the interaction, or what kind of perspective does the nephrologist give you once you talk to the nephrologist?
I was telling Lamont this at breakfast. I haven't really had the best luck with nephrologists. I've had to change a few. I'm on my 3rd one, and I'm thinking of changing him too. I don't know.
We have a few in the house, by the way.
Any takers? I've had 3 male nephrologists so far, and I don't know if it's just me taking it personal, but I just didn't feel they're very. I'm not treated as a person. I'm treated as just another patient, and I mean, this is my experience. I demand to be treated, not just another, okay, how you doing? All right, moving on kind of thing. It's just so quick. It's like, no, I need time with you. I have so many unanswered questions, and I need more time with you. And I'm actually going to meet with my first female one this Friday, so I'm really looking forward to that. Maybe us women can change that perspective on me personally. So we'll see what happens. But I'm really happy you have a good nephrologist. That's very lucky. So
I'll bring a bow on this thing. I think that they've they've done a good job. I think I was listening to Lamont, and he said, my kid calls me a superhero. And I think we all think he's a superhero now, right? So. So we did this for a reason, for you guys to understand, what it's like to kind of be on this side of the fence, right? And understand that, I think Lamont said it right. It's, we're people, we're not patients. And I think Jennifer Moore even said that, ironically enough, at the meeting in Arizona in January. So it's very interesting to hear both of these guys give the same perspective, that the more we appreciate that, I think, as a group, the more that we kind of lean into our job a little bit differently. And that's what we hope happens as a result of this. One of the things I wanted to do is close this off. We have an animated, from what I understand, poem, and I think Lily kicked us off by talking about some of her interests, and one of them is writing poems. And she's written a poem about having kidney disease and being on dialysis, and I thought that'd be a nice way to cap it off. So it's all yours.
Thank you. I just want to give a brief history of this poem I wrote, actually. I used to do 3 a.m. treatments, and I actually loved my 3 a.m. treatments because I would wake up at 2 in the morning, I would go outside. My favorite thing to look at were the stars. They were so bright, and the air was just so crisp, it felt like a brand new day. But I remember one night I just was tossing and turning, and I had this voice in my head that was so haunting, I couldn't sleep, and it was just repeating these words, and they ironically were rhyming. And I couldn't get it out of my head, so I woke up at like 1:30 in the morning. I had an hour till 2:30. I just wrote it all out, and as soon as I wrote it all out, I just fell asleep for that hour, woke up, and I just couldn't stop reading it, and I want to share it with you today. So let me just prepare myself for this. Just give me a second. I am the dialysis machine. I am made up of numbers and acid, the filter your kidneys once did. You see your blood go out, then back in, using huge needles that'll make you grin. I take up your space and time. Now, your confidence is mine. I make you envy everyone you see. I give you the worst nightmares there can ever be, making you wake up in a sweat, giving you pain you can't forget. My needle men will ruin your perfect skin. My catheter women will clot you within. I will destroy your arteries and veins. In fact, your whole body will never be the same, because you belong to me as long as they let you in. Until a good soul donates, then you will win. But for now, you are under my bloody spell, and your life will feel worse than hell. Although kidneys fail slowly, they're so easy to defeat. From now on, you have to watch everything you drink and eat. I make doctor appointments your life's work, sending you bills more than you're worth, because you depend on me to live, with all your freedom you have to give. This was never part of your plan, but I see you're doing the best you can. 2 things can save you: a transplant or a miracle. So don't be afraid to stay hopeful and spiritual. If you stay humble and wise, I promise you will survive. But for now, I am the reason your blood is clean, because I am the dialysis machine. Thank you.
That was awesome.
Awesome job.